the whole basis of this is like, hey, I didn't make it as a professional athlete, right? But when it came to my job and it came to my life, including climbing, climbing has been so important to me my entire life. It fills up my spirit, and it helps me build resilience to all the things that challenge us in a daily life. But work like an athlete is about viewing your job and your life as your sport.
Welcome to the Spartan DEKA Series on Spartan Up with Jarod Cogswell, Director of Sport, and Yancy Culp, Director of Programming.
Okay, everybody, today is part 3 of our 4-part series, Winning the Mind Game. And today, JC gets to be a little bit of a guest because we're talking about his book, Work Like an Athlete. But today we're talking about working and living like an athlete.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Loran Oils. After your next workout, help soothe tired muscles with Loran's affordable, quality-tested, 100% pure botanical essential oils. Visit LoranOils.com, that's LORANNOILS.com, today and get 15% off site-wide when you use the code SPARTAN15 at checkout.
What's up, Spartans? Welcome to the DEKA Series on the Spartan Up Podcast. I'm your co-host, Yancy Culp, and I'm here with my brother, my co-host, Jarod Cogswell. He's the JC and the YC-JC combo, and there's a lightning bolt in between the YC-JC. Don't forget that. Listen, JC feels a little bit like a guest today because we're talking about his book, Work Like an Athlete. I'm going to give you a super quick story. So we're meeting in San Antonio a couple weeks out back in 2018, a couple weeks out from our opportunity to coach together for the U.S. Army in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I'd never met this man before, and he hands me this book. And we chat throughout the day. We do some prep work for the Fort Bragg get together with the Army. I get home and I read through this book. And I'm telling you right now, I think I levitated a little bit, brother. So the book's got some amazing content, and I'm super freaking pumped to do a little deep dive into work like an athlete today. I know you and I both grew up playing sports, and we understand the value of commitment to yourself, commitment to your team, commitment to being the best version of yourself so you can provide for your team. Since the time that you and I were walking on 2 feet until the time leaving college, we were playing sports. And I know that played a big role in both of our lives, man. So I love your book. My wife loves your book. The people that I've let borrow my little JC guide, they love your book. So, man, I'm excited about this one, brother.
Well, you know what? To be on this show, it's an honor, brother. And, that we have been talking about winning the mind game, right? And I think when we were talking about this 4-part series, we weren't even thinking about utilizing some of this as content for the 4 parts. And and really this book, I mean, it's just a small little companion book. It takes you 45 minutes to read, probably 50 minutes, me being a guy from Chico State University. But what it's really about, it's not about all these successes that I've had. It's all the failures that I've had. I mean, all the things that I didn't realize it at the time, but escalated myself both professionally and personally. And, I don't know if I've ever shared with you, but my childhood dream up until I got all the way up into college is I wanted to be a Major League Baseball star. I wanted to play shortstop for the San Francisco Giants, and I wanted to hit a grand slam home run in the bottom of the 9th in the National League Championship Series against the LA Dodgers. I wanted to send LA home. But when you run as slow as I do to first base, you better be able to have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball or you're not going to make it to the major leagues. And I didn't have that either. So where I felt like I met my own major leagues and I made it to the major leagues is I got hired on early on in my fitness career by a company called Leisure Sports. And man, I remember being a 20-something so excited to work for these guys. And I'm like, man, these guys are doing it right for the fitness industry. And I got that opportunity first off as a wellness director, and then eventually got more opportunities actually to become a general manager elsewhere. And I came back to the company when they purchased a facility that had not been doing very well in the state of Oregon. And but I was excited about the opportunity, and I at the time I was like a 28-year-old something, and you know, in charge of 200 employees and just under 10,000 members. There was a huge community within the facility, but it was losing $2.5 million per year, believe it or not. And you know, that first year was a tough one, and I put my heart and soul into it. We underwent a $6 million renovation, and I just knew at the end of the day, at the end of that construction project, we were going to be on the map. We were going to be in a good place, and it took a while to get there. And even though we had all these great enhancements to the facility, I think really what made a difference for the next 14 years that I was in charge of that facility was the culture that was built. And that's when I realized that, you know what, it's not great to be a manager. You have to figure out how to be a great leader. And I'm not somebody that would define myself as a great leader, because I still have to learn. But one story I always share is, like, you know, after that first year, you know, I worked my butt off, you know, 12 to 14-hour days, did it for 12 months straight. What we did at Leisure Sports is each manager had what we called an upward feedback. Okay. And this is where your direct reports get to actually evaluate you instead of you evaluating them, right? Well, I'll tell you what, that first one was rough. I got that upward feedback, and I had about 14 reports, and I found out half of them disliked me, maybe even hated me. And then the other half, they either liked me or they tolerated me. And I remember, man, I remember just being sad and hurt, and then I was just kind of like, God, they just don't understand how much pressure's in this position, and I was always thinking, like, everybody's got to work as hard as you do, right? Like, I was a great individual performer, I was always a great teammate, but I realized I wasn't a great manager of people, and that's not really that's not what I wanted to really accomplish, was to be a manager. I wanted to be a leader. And I remember not even being able to sleep that night after I saw the results. I mean, it was just crushing. And I remember before I went back to work the next day, I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, finally, when I got over myself, I said, you need to change. Not them, you. And you know what, man? That was a game changer. It was failure that made me realize how I could be more successful. And I started working on my leadership game from there, and really starting to realize that it is a mindset. It's something where you have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. You know, you have to invest in people in order to be successful. So a lot of the book is, even though it's called Work Like an Athlete, it's really about how to not just attack your job professionally, but it's how to attack life on a personal level as well.
I tell you, and I know there's going to be a few listeners that may have never played team sports, but as a longtime coach, I love coaching and working with team sports. And I like to say that I would argue that it's one of the greatest internships a human will ever have, being led by imperfect people, being on a team. The little job that you do and all the people next to you, when combined, provide the great product, provide a lot of W's. And it's usually the team that comes together the best as a team. And ultimately, for when you play team sports, it will. I always say this: if you're not into this, start your own company and don't hire anybody. Then you can divert what we're talking about here. But ultimately, we're all going to go play on a team.
Yeah.
And we work our way up. So in the book, you talk about bring your best every day. It sounds like, I mean, I would say for myself, it's definitely true, and it sounds like for you as well. There were probably times back in high school and college we weren't being the best teammate. We were playing for ourselves, and I want to do a little deeper dive into that survey. You know, where they critiqued JC. Because you became a better teammate that day. You know, and it's when something like that happens to me, I look back and say, gosh, I wish I would have been that better teammate back in high school, back in college. You know, that I want to dive deeper into that, like what happens to you internally when that rug gets ripped out from under you, brother.
Well, I think what happens is you realize all eyes are watching you as the leader. Right? They wonder, how are you going to support them? Are you recognizing them for the effort that they put into it? Not just the performance, but the effort. And it just made me more intentional. It made me more present. It made me more aware. And it also made me more aware about myself. It was like, because outside of the business, I was always, like, hey, we're going to have a kick-ass time. We're always going to have a good time. We're going to play hard. We're going to work hard. We're going to climb mountains. We love to suffer a little bit. But not everybody's into the same thing. And I just had a conversation this morning with somebody. It's like, hey, we all have to have equal expectations, when you put together a team, whether that's a sports team or your business team. But we also have to treat every individual a little bit different based on their personality, which means you need to dig deeper into every individual on that team. You need to find out what makes them click. You need to figure out what stresses them out, what gives them anxiety. And so, you and I have talked about this, but the bottom line is, if you want to create an unbelievable culture, whether that's in a professional or a personal environment, you need to win the caring game. And so those mantras have come into play for most of my career based on those failures. The other thing, I want to give credit where credit's due. Todd Durkin, for example, has had a huge influence on my life, both personally and professionally. And really to be successful and work and live like an athlete, it really came from him. It was his influence. And we know the basis and the foundation of being successful and being motivated and being inspired. It comes from passion and purpose, right? So when I go out and I speak to these groups, I've been fortunate to go out and speak to Nike and a lot of different hotel groups, hospitality, and so forth. But you have to find passion and purpose in everything that you do, so that when your feet hit the floor, when you get out of bed that day, you're fired up. You're excited. Every day is a game day, and every day is a chance for a W, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to give the shot across the bow wake-up call to every single leader out there. And this one even gets a little edgy sometimes. I'm a better version of myself when I talk about this and when I put this into play. I've learned that you are maniacally focused on our number one customer. Let's take DEKA, for example. Our number one customer is everybody on Team DEKA, our team. We always put them this much ahead of the members, the gym affiliates, anybody out there. And I want to hear your exact words, your explanation, because I love this conversation, man. Kind of almost like it's our job to pull the CEOs, the managers, the executives, the C-level execs to the edge of their seat and say, wait a second, you might be out of line a little bit here. Your number one customer is your whole team, from the janitor to the VP right under you if you're the CEO, and every single person in between. When we get it right with them, we knock it out of the park.
Completely agree. And yes, we've had a lot of conversations about this. I don't think it's the truth. One time I was approached by a hotel group, and they said, hey, we would like for you to introduce our ethos, our new branded ethos. And it was this ethos of customer care for their guests and taking their service levels to a whole nother level, right? But my question to them is, do the employees that work for you, the team members that work for you, do they feel that ethos from you? Because if they don't, how do you expect for them to execute these initiatives with this ethos to your guests? They need to be able to experience it firsthand. And another example, I used to tell all of our employees, like, hey, we're going to deliver 5-star service. Just like a 5-star hotel, we're going to be the Ritz-Carlton of service when it comes to the athletic resort business. And I'm talking to 18, 19-year-olds in some cases, and they're like, what the hell is a 5-star service hotel? They don't even know what it is. And so you have to educate them on that. So one, you have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And you need to explain the why and the purpose of your business. You need to explain what's important with your business. But if you have expectations on how you want to deliver service to your customer base, then your employees need to feel it first. They need to feel that every day, because here's what's the result of that's going to be this. One, they're going to protect one another. They're going to protect you. Maybe they'll like you more because they know you're invested in them. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten such a terrible upward feedback that first go around. They did get a little better every year after that, just so you know. That was always the goal, man. I was always nervous, like, what's that scoreboard going to look like after this one? But they're also going to protect your brand, your products, your services, and again, this is on a professional side, but it also happens on the personal side. It happens in the everyday, day-to-day relationships we have as well, and we need to, if you're surrounded by that tribe or that community, we need to invest in every single person that we work with, play with, live with. And so this mantra just isn't about that professional environment, but I think the way you and I attack our lives is like, we're all on one big team, right? And so we need to do more of that. We need to tap into people and our tribe members on an emotional level, because we need them. We need them. It doesn't matter if, sometimes you get in a leadership role because of a title, right? But I know a lot of leaders out there without titles. And I know some people in leadership roles that don't even deserve the definition of leader. But that's what it's all about, man. It's about, being your best individual self so that you can have positive impact on others. And then we connect all the pieces in the world together.
We're in the middle of a mindset series, and I'm loving how this is molding into our series. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed with big pictures, and they miss out on the little microcosm concept. And as a teammate or as an athlete, let's look at a teammate here. It all starts in the home. My first team is my wife and my 2 kiddos. I've got to be the best teammate. I've got to be the best athlete I can be /teammate in that home. And then when when the work day starts, I've got to be the best teammate I can for my team. Spartan DEKA, all the people that we get to work alongside. So, the word athlete is an individual word. It's a singular word, but it, when you and I both played football, when I talked to the football team, I was like, wait a second here. To the fan, it looks really complex. There's all this movement out there, but I've got my job, and I'm going to do my job the best that I can. The other 10 people do it, and we're going to come together, and we're going to conquer that play. And I truly believe that, and maybe this is a message for the parents out there that have kids. This is a little off track here, brother, but I know you'll appreciate this. I encourage every mom and dad to push their kiddos to some type of team activity. Going through middle school, high school, I call it the greatest internship. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with thousands and thousands of youth, and it might be the band. That's a big group team activity. But get yourself involved when we're in a situation where you have to be led by imperfect people. You're being told what to do in practice, and then game day hits, and you got to perform, and everybody come together. That is awesome tension. It's awesome molding of people coming together, all getting over obstacles. It's hard to find something that beats the life experience that you get as a young person working together on a team.
Completely agree. And being in the world of fitness, my entire career, I've gotten a chance to work alongside a lot of different athletes, both as clients, members, teammates. And there is definitely a difference between the individual athlete and the team-oriented athlete. And there's hybrids of both, right? But I have had serious conversations where I have had, athletes that are just amazing employees and amazing stars for our business, but they don't connect well with the other teammates, and it's created some conflict within the cultures that I've worked with before as well. Because that person is not thinking outside of their own cave, so to speak. They're not great at connecting. And I'm not saying they're all like this, but when I hire a team-oriented sports athlete, okay, doesn't even matter if they were the captain of the team or they were a bench warmer on the team, but they understand the concept of team. Okay, that we're all in this together. And what I've told those individual athletes, like, hey, you might have been great at what you do, but our team together is always going to dominate the individual. And I've had to make some tough decisions as a leader in my career to let go of people that just think about their singular selves, that act with only that. They're like, what do you mean? I'm great with the customers. I'm great with the members. Yeah, but again, number one, what's created this culture in the first place is the team. That's what this is all about.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Loran Oils. Put your best foot forward in competition and make your recovery essential. Loran's 100% pure botanical essential oils are optimal for athletes looking for natural and holistic approaches when it comes to wellness and supporting performance. Spartans, are intense workouts burning you out? You can give your mind and body self-care and rest with Loran's essential oils. As you train, stretch, and meditate, use their 100% pure botanical oils in diffusers, roller balls, massage oils, or lotions. Help boost overworked muscles and promote relaxation and focus so you can crush your race day goals. Loran's origins are in pharmacy, and they have been a trusted supplier for over 50 years to home consumers, spas, massage therapists, and personal care manufacturers, always offering essential and base oils, waxes, and natural butters at affordable prices. Their quality-tested oils are obtained through cold press or steam distillation. There's no alcohol, added solvents, or other diluting agents. Loran's essential oils are perfect for your active rest days, or for baking and cooking for your plant-forward needs. Their food-grade oils can add great flavors and great aromas to your favorite nutritious recipes as you fuel up, train, and recover. Remember, you can save 15% off site-wide with your next purchase. Just use the code SPARTAN15 at checkout. Go to LoranOils.com. That's LORANOILS.com. And don't forget to use that code SPARTAN15.
JC, I want to do a little deeper dive into the book. For the listeners and viewers out there, let's dive into a few of the key chapters in Work Like an Athlete.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, the whole basis of this is like, hey, I didn't make it as a professional athlete, right? But when it came to my job and it came to my life, including climbing, climbing has been so important to me my entire life. It fills up my spirit, and it helps me build resilience to all the things that challenge us in a daily life. But work like an athlete is about viewing your job and your life as your sport, and I think when it's, they just had the All-Star game here, the baseball All-Star game, ironically, here in Denver the other day. That's where the best of the best are coming to play. So I want to be the best version of myself, both as a business professional, as a friend, as a father, as a husband. I better not leave that one out. But I think what comes with that is there's traits that you have to have, in order to be successful in life. And I think, and you and I talk about this all the time about lighting up the planet. But that means, how do we light up ourselves on a daily basis? And I used to have this ritual of waking up in the morning. One, I'd wake up an hour early each day. I would also, before my feet hit the floor, I would think about intentionally who I'm going to be that day. And then when I get up, have my swig of coffee, I'm reading something that inspires me. I'm moving, 10 to 15 minutes before I start my day to just activate everything, the mind, the body, the spirit. But the whole thing is about living intentionally. So I'm going to be a source of positive energy. I'm going to live and work excuse free are some of the points that are involved in that. I want to be a role model of excellence. Now, I'm going to screw up every now and then, just like anybody else, but I'm going to strive for excellence. And then, but most importantly, again, when it comes to passion and purpose, I want to impact my environment in the most positive way. Um, and listen, man, I, I I don't think I bat 1,000 at that, every single day. But if it's up on the board, if those rituals are important, that's what this is all about. So really, that's the foundation of the book. And then we talk about how you need to train like an athlete, right? You need to take care of yourself to take care of others, physically, mentally, emotionally. If you're not stable, how are you going to really positively impact other people? Creating a game plan, strategies, just like I was talking about with the rituals. Having a scoreboard for yourself. We talked about that when we were talking about our 5-part series of A Life
Yeah.
Fueled by Fitness. Every day I have a scoreboard, for myself. Whether that's a quick to-do list, but all of those things, the intention there is to accomplish my goals or get closer to those goals on an everyday basis. So I think I think there's just a lot of, there's 10 different chapters of the book. And I've spoken to so many groups over the years about this book, and I've wanted to modify it and edit it and really turn it into a real book, instead of this little companion book, because I've learned a lot since it was written. And I think that's the other key thing, man, is if you're going to work and live like an athlete, you have to be open to continuous learning and being able to expand your perspective as well. So a lot of those things, again, I don't do them perfectly. I've majorly failed in the past with a lot of these concepts, but I think the book itself, especially reviewing it last night again, because it had been a while since I opened it up, it's going to keep me more accountable to maximizing my performance in life overall.
I love it, man. When I have the wonderful opportunity to speak with groups, I use something that I call the pause button. And I remember reading your book, and I specifically remember shooting a video a couple days later because it solidified the reasoning for me and how I coach it with the pause button. For every single person, when you pull up to work or before you get ready to hit start on that Zoom or Google Hangout video, whatever your work looks like, your book helped remind me to hit my pause button and say, wait a second here. It doesn't matter how crazy this is about to get or how the day's going to look. Hit my pause button and remind myself, dominate the day-to-day. Be the best version of yourself. Be the best version, the best teammate you can be. And so when people say, you know what, I get excited when JC walks in the room. And that's kind of that true serum. That you need to sit back and look at yourself sometime and say, wait a second, do people like when you walk in? Or are they kind of cringe a little bit? They're doing one of the two. When you walk to practice, or you walk into the boardroom or the office, whatever you're walking into, they're saying, man, inside their head, like, I get excited when that person gets here, or damn, he or she's there again today. That's what you need to ask yourself. And it reminded me of the importance of saying, wait a second here, pause, get your straight, let's go. So It did that for me, brother. But you know what? We got to talk about the last chapter real quick. And that's the post-game speech, man. And you and I know as athletes that 99.9% of post-game speeches are never heard. They're not videoed. The greatest ones they'll live on in infamy, and nobody will ever hear them. But that is so important. And it's not always how you verbally speak the pregame or the postgame speech or walking into practice or after practice, but the importance of being that leader on the team. That's not just, we love talking about Tom Brady, who I'm not a big New England Patriots fan, but I became more of a Brady fan when he went down to Tampa Bay, and I saw what he was doing, and I was seeing that everybody was like, it's like, wait a second, everybody loves playing for this guy. Yeah, inside the lines, he's a great quarterback, but most of us argue that he's a greater leader off the field, in the locker room, at practice. I read a story the other day that said, for the first time since sometime in the 70s, 100% of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers returned to play for the Buccaneers this year. I don't think that happens without Brady. So I think, I've never met the man, but my gut tells me that he is a phenomenal leader, and people love being around him. When he walks into the room, when he walks into the meeting, people get a little fired up.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. One, I want to go back to what you said about the pause button. Thank you for teaching me that concept, because I use it a lot now as a tool for myself, especially when I get my mind wound up and maybe it's not in that positive place that it needs to be in. The pause button has been a huge tool for me, and I got that from you. You talked about first impressions when somebody walks through that room, and again, that goes back to being present, being intentional, being aware of how you're conducting yourself, whether that's in the meeting room or just out on the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Brady has a presence, and I think you can see, like, it didn't matter if the guy was drafted in the 6th or 7th round. He became a champion in life by taking advantage of every opportunity he had been given, but training like a madman. You don't get there without, I guess, working like an athlete, right? And training like an athlete and doing a lot of the things that I share. But I think you did say one thing that I think is different for Tom Brady. It's that you don't play for Tom Brady, you play with Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And you can see that because that guy has somehow converted these no-name receivers and offensive players into stars, right? It doesn't matter who's out on the field with Tom Brady. He's going to transform you into a champion. Mm-hmm. And you, in turn, are making him better as well. And I think that's what it's all about. My favorite quote is the strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack, right? Mm-hmm. And Brady is definitely the wolf, and I think that's what's made him so successful. And when we talk about the post-game speech, I guess to wrap this up, Yancy, it's like I like to play with this concept, man. is like, I like to feel like, even though I'll never feel it inside of a stadium full of, thousands of people roaring for me, if I'm up at that in that batter's box, I'm never going to get the chance to hit that ninth inning home run against the Dodgers, but I'm going to envision that in everything that I do. Okay. Here's my chance. Be intentional. And it doesn't matter how successful you are. You need to stay hungry. You need to stay passionate. You need to be enthusiastic about life. Okay. Because every single day is a gift. And then the other thing that I said earlier was, you need to stay coachable. You need to consistently learn. And I think when we talk about Tom Brady, there's a guy that continues to learn. And then last but not least is dominate the details. Dominate. To me, I love the word dominate, because if you strive for domination, like even the phrase I don't like is when people say strive for progress, not perfection. Okay. Come on, man. Even though we're never going to achieve perfection, it's just impossible. But if you strive for it, you're going to get that much closer to it. So yes, I believe in progress, but strive for perfection. Be the best version of yourself.
Love it, brother. We need to, sometimes they just need to go a little longer than 25, 30 minutes, and this could be one of those. But man, I enjoyed talking about Work Like an Athlete today. It's one of my favorite books. As an ADD type brain, those little pocket guides are better for me, man. Something that I can read in 45 minutes or 50 minutes if you're from Chico State, those are good ones for me, man. I like them. Don't make it too big, because I won't. You know what I mean?
Hey, I know you're still on Hawaii time, and we're still podcasting from the Camaro, man.
My kids are calling
the Camaro series.
My kids are calling me Johnny Camaro.
Echoes from the Camaro.
I'm glad you brought that up. For the listeners won't know this, but for the viewers, you will know. Yes, this is episode number 2 from Johnny's Camaro. I'm breaking a sweat in here. I got the windows rolled up so you can't hear the activity. This is tough, man. I'm in the sweat box, but thank you for dealing with the Camaro.
I love how you cut up the DEKA shirt, man. It's going sleeveless, man. That's classy, Johnny Camaro.
I swear to God, I thought about that when I put this on. I was hoping you'd bring that. All I need a little mullet, and I'll be good to go.
Yeah, Johnny C, baby, Johnny C.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Loran Oils. After your next workout, help soothe tired muscles with Loran's affordable, quality-tested, 100% pure botanical essential oils. Visit LoranOils.com, that's LORANNOILS.com, today and get 15% off site-wide when you use the code SPARTAN15 at checkout. Thanks for listening to this episode of the DEKA Series on Spartan Up Podcast. Spartan Up is your partner in resilience for mind, body, and spirit. We're here 3 days every week. Tuesdays, you can find Joe DeSena, founder and CEO of Spartan, interviewing biohackers, business leaders, authors, and athletes. Thursdays and Saturdays, catch episodes from our DEKA, Endurance, Trail, Combat, and La Ruta series. Do you know someone who needs a little nudge? Maybe they could use some motivation, tactics to be stronger, healthier, happier, more successful. Tell them about our show. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. We want to know who's watching and who's listening. Thanks. See you next time.